There we go. It took a little minute there to bring everybody in. Hey, Tom. Hey, Jay. It's been about a month or so.
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
been about a month. Yeah.
yeah. And we were very happy that we got to do that little manga Batman and all the above. But in any case, we are really looking forward to. I was really looking forward to getting into this one. And of course, I almost forgot to do one thing, but I'll hand that off to Tom, and then while I pull up our bona fides.
Yeah, I'm Tom with theFirst-theLast-theNerdom. In honor of the anime that we're going to be talking about, I recorded myself doing all the action scenes, and but I lost the footage, so I was going to upload that at the beginning. So I could
Awesome.
redo it now, but
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Here we're gonna jump into it here in a minute. But before we do, we gotta as the grown-ups say, we gotta pay some bills. Not really, but self promotion here. This is our we're on Twitter. Tom runs our Twitter channel, and then this is our YouTube channel here, where you will see primarily where we put everything out. I just wanted to call attention to last week's where we went live and we did the
Blood and Black
yeah,
Lakes.
yeah. Thank you. Blood and black. I always want to say black and blood lace for whatever reason, but I have to like stop myself. Blood and black lace, which is it's going along. It's a little bit less, a little bit more of a dead cat bounce than anything else, but that's okay. Some things are like that. And also,
yeah, I threw out another short. It sort of
that's right.
Didn't do as well as the other, but hey,
Yep.
we're still testing it out. We're trying to figure out what people want as far as shorts. But yeah, I'm getting some more Blu-rays in, so I'll do another one of those here shortly. And,
Yeah, absolutely.
May do. I was thinking stuff that doesn't quite work well for like an hour long podcast. I might do like a 60-second review of something, maybe throw that out as shorts. So see if people like that. And
yeah, that'd be great. And of course, as always, our ever growing, as Thomas was adding to our shorts, excuse me. You also have our ever growing back catalog of our long form content, which is the usual. But you're going to find something there. We went back a few times. The last couple times we've been live, we are trying out a little bit new tooling. So bear with us as we go through that and do that. But not to delay too much longer here. We're about about 3.5 minutes in. But anyway, what's this all about and why we have a special guest? And actually, this one was recommended to us. Jay, I believe you turned us on to this show as a future show. You just kind of threw it out there. And how did you find out about this, or where did you come into contact with this when you proposed it as an idea, which we did cover, which we are covering this week?
This was a series that I had been following off and on during its development. It was announced a few years ago. This is original for Adult Swim. Interesting idea.
Yep.
And then it was announced that it was coming. I'm like, hey, since we like to look at Japanese media as well, maybe this is something to check out. It's something a little bit different than a lot of the anime that's being made right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's I don't know why that didn't come in.
It's a throwback.
Yeah. Before we get into the main thing, so just so everyone knows, I believe it debuted or premiered on February 10th, something like that. So by the time you see this, sometime in the future, I'm sure it'll either have wrapped up or whatever. But I'll look up how many total episodes there are for
12. It's going to be 12.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Oh, good,
that's going to be 12 episodes. That's a standard.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a standard?
It's a standard Japanese anime season now. 12 episodes.
All right, that's a good healthy number. God knows I've been suffering a little bit of withdrawal with all these kind of shows and series that do like 6 or 8 or something truncated, which I guess can be fine. in certain situations. But when you're just starting out, it would be I think healthy. The 12 is a healthy number, and it's put on by Adult Swim. And I'll pull up the original link here in a little bit, the one that you sent over to us that kind of prepped us for this. But we all kind of figured out around this date and time, and that we were going to watch it and kind of consume it. And as luck would have it, we have got to see the first couple episodes. And I'm not quite clear. I think they come out weekly, is what the cadence is. And I think it's got to be like a Sunday or a Tuesday or something like. I don't know what the day. And shame on me for not having that.
It's a Saturday thing,
okay,
so
okay.
it probably comes on like at midnight on Saturday. Like very thematic with what this type of show is, and if you think about the context of the types of shows that it's throwing back to, that's just a perfect time for something like this to come on.
Yeah, like the 2000s, you think Toonami, the Adult Swim. Toonami's known for its anime, so I didn't watch a whole lot of anime that way back in the 2000s. I was more into buying the DVDs and consuming it on my own because I didn't like televised TV with all of its commercials. But yeah, I know a lot of people have fond memories of watching Toonami back in the day.
Yeah, and we're as the order goes, we're probably about all the way further out. Justin, you're the foremost person here who has most contact and experience with this stuff, and Thomas, you'd probably be second, and then I'm coming up third. But so we all have some kind of exposure or super detailed knowledge of certain aspects of this. Nobody can know it all. But this was when I saw this, and then I watched the trailer with you, Jay, and we saw that together. And then Tom, did you see the trailer beforehand? No,
I like going in fresh because my opinion on trailers is they're cool and all, but they're not the movie. So why taint yourself if you're planning on seeing it? Now, if you're kind of on the fence and you want to see a little bit of something of it. Sure, but I knew we were going to be covering this, so I was like, I'll wait till because I don't like spoilers, so so yeah, I like to go in fresh, because sometimes like the first episode, it doesn't tell you everything.
No,
the second episode is more of a kind of information dump, not quite an information dump, but you find out more on the second episode, right. But you kind of set up it's your traditional revenge story. We've got plenty of the both in Japan and America. There's lots of stories of revenge where your family gets killed and you have to go out for revenge. My mind immediately goes towards Punisher, but some people I've seen it compared to what if John Wick was a ninja,
that thought had not crossed my mind. The revenge flick, I've kind of just been kind of absorbing it, and usually that's a sign of like where I know I have very positive feelings for this whole concept. I dug it, and we'll get into it a little bit, but it really works for me. That's the shortcut. I'm pretty easy to please. But between the trailers that I saw before this, and I actually watched them a couple times because I showed them to my kiddos, see if they had no interest. But well, my son did, but my daughter was kind of like, I'd probably watch something else, but that's fine. That's what kids do. They have their own taste and likes. Right. But the trailer that I saw, seeing it a couple times, and I think there's only one or two versions out there, but doesn't matter. I was really stoked, like just on the action and the first episode. To kind of go back to what you were saying, it does kind of set the table a little bit, and it you got to start somewhere, kind of thing. I don't think it was. It was very interesting, and I was kind of turned around. I mean, I knew what was going on. But I was kind of turned around, but like that's okay. Like there's a lot there, and maybe I didn't get the thing they threw out or whatever. But the second episode was, they have, if they continue this where they dole out a little bit of a fight or something, maybe they might have one or two that's have very little fights, but like the action and everything, like I was a very pleased customer. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
And what did you guys think of the pacing and all that? Just overall, like kind of bottom line part where are you going to stick with it? Or are you going to, I mean, aside from us talking about it in lieu of that?
The second episode was a bit more slow paced than the first one,
Mm.
but the first episode had to be fast paced and it had to have a lot of action because that was what was going to get people to continue watching, particularly someone who might be an anime fan who's perhaps a bit skeptical of the show. You need to give them that hook, that meat, and have people interested in seeing more. And then the second episode, less action. I noted the second episode, it had kind of a much more of a police procedural feel to it, like when the police are sitting around the police station interacting with one another, had a very kind of American 90s USA network police procedural banter type thing going on.
Yeah, he's up for retirement. It's his
Very, very Lethal Weapon.
Yeah, I can see Danny Glover in this.
Yes,
the
exactly.
role of
Very Lethal Weapon.
lead detective. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, with the crazy partner. But yeah, there's a lot of cliches. I mean, but cliches are cliches because they work. If you do them right, or whatever. But yeah, the 80s and 90s, there's a lot of different stuff in here. Like of course ninjas were huge in the 80s.
Right.
You got your ninjas back in this, and they're back to being cool. They're
right.
We've talked about the turtles. We're 80s and 90s kids, so we're all about the ninjas. But yeah, I like the pacing. I've said it before and I'll say it again now, is that with action, if you don't have something behind it, if it doesn't have meaning to it, it just kind of my brain turns off. Like a lot of the Marvel action movies, that last 15 minutes of nonstop action, my brain just turns off and it's like, oh, what happened? But yeah, and unfortunately, a lot of anime is like that too. Sometimes it gets kind of full of itself, or gets too much into the style of itself, and the heart of it kind of gets out of it, and you just kind of I just lose it and stop really paying attention. Whereas this anime, it kept me interested. It built up enough of the personal story of the character, the main character, Joe Logan, I think is his name, that you get you get a sense of the person. So there's a little bit of a meat in the game, so to speak, as far as the action. And the action's well choreographed to the point where I can tell what's going on. Unfortunately, a lot of Marvel movies, the action is not choreographed well, and it's just kind of a mess of action. Things flying across the screen. Whereas this, very much stripped down. You got ninjas being flashy, fighting each other, and it works. The anime actually reminded me of some, oddly enough, the animated portions of Kill Bill and the Matrix, Animatrix, the some of those segments from that show. That may be just because I haven't seen a whole lot of anime, but yeah, my mind kind of turned back to those two.
Yeah,
no, I think that it was designed specifically to harken back to those sort of direct to video, gory, violent anime that you would have seen on Adult Swim, or that you might have rented from Blockbuster or Hollywood, or that you might have bought at Suncoast. Dating ourselves here, but you get it. That's the whole point. My belief, this was not for a teenage anime fan or a 25-year-old anime fan. They're happy if that person enjoyed this. This was for someone who was watching Toonami back in the late 90s and early 2000s, people of that age group. So it's definitely calling back to that kind of style of animation, that style of storytelling, the pacing, just the sort of over-the-top action and violence.
Yeah,
And that
go ahead, Tom.
no, I was going to kind of reiterate Jay's point. The it starts off and you get a close look at Joe Logan and his family. They're kind of a bright, happy American family, or
Idyllic.
what look
Yeah.
idyllic, yeah. And I had to think, and I think what Jay's saying kind of backs up the theory is that these are kind of bright, big-eyed, happy anime characters that we're used to. They sort of Americanized, sort of, bright, happy characters, and then their world is kind of tore apart, and you have this violent Asian guy that shows up that turns out to be Joe Logan. And I was kind of wondering if that was the creator's way of saying this isn't your cutesy anime. This is some serious shit.
Maybe.
It was sort of like I didn't, because you could take it as sort of maybe how sometimes anime is kind of criticized, or it's pointed out that it's a Japanese format, but a lot of the characters look American. Is like, no, this is like, nope. these are Japanese. At least the main character is Japanese. But I think it was more of a what Jay was saying is, hey, this isn't your average your cutesy anime. This is serious business.
Yeah, that's what I really enjoyed, the breadth of detail in a cartoon or animated series or show is something that I'm not used to, and everything was so very realistic. It had to the tune that it had its own style. I would say, and I am not well versed in any of these, and I'm sure we'll get some to some that, like, where they're like that, like where they're very visceral and real and detailed. I love that. I love the fact of, like, it's exactly like if you were to take a comic book and try to do, like one panel after, to kind of follow that, and then, but instead of the comic book just being the skeleton, the animated it was very much like on point, and it was even better than that I'm giving or relaying, because of that level of brutality. isn't for shocking's sake. Like, you can totally tell, and you're right. Earlier in the show we were talking about this, where if you get the cliche right, we're forgiving because you pulled it off. And we don't talk about it as being like all of a sudden we're like doing a 90-degree turn here, like without warning. It can land you out of it, and then instead of you going along with the ride with it, you kind of realize that you're watching this thing, and it's like then you kind of get bored. That didn't happen at all with this. Like, the it was really, really awesome. And you can tell, like, it was like the only thing missing, aside from, it's like you could just tell this thing was like, it could have been born in the 80s, like, with the only thing that was missing was Arnold Schwarzenegger. Like, that's kind of like just the only missing kind of aspect. And I mean that in not in a kitschy way, but in a very sincere, serious way of, like, it's just very, it's rolling thunder as soon as you start. Instead of like one big boom at the end of the season, you have this rolling thunder, like, where you're building up. And God, is it amazing.
I was thinking more of Jean-Claude Van Damme and
okay,
Hard Target.
Yeah.
That has
American
the
Ninja.
Asian, that Hard Target has the Asian influence of John Woo, but
Right.
yeah, no, the whole thing about the first episode, you're introduced to the classic revenge tale, and
Right.
I think that works. I mean, obviously it works because we've got so many successful things that have used that trope, but you have to, at this point, you kind of have to have your own hook to it. And the first episode, I was looking for that hook, and I got teased with it a little bit, but I didn't really see the hook, and I wasn't sure if I was going to be hooked into the show. But I think that with the second episode where they kind of get a little bit more into the backstory of things,
They move
that's
quickly.
yeah, and it's I said information dump, but they do it in a way that is kind of free flowing and it doesn't impede the story too much. But yeah, you get a little bit of a prologue in the second episode where it kind of sets up the I guess the global mass ninja group that he's going to be fighting against.
Right.
And but they don't tell you a whole lot. I mean, they tell you kind of the basics. They don't really tell how he fits in with it. He was a part of that, but they don't really go into detail of how he was in it and how he got out of it. Obviously, that's going to be told later on, and
Right.
you get to meet, much like John Wick, you get to meet one of his old guys they used to hang out with, the doctor, because he got banged up in the first episode, so you had to get kind of patched up in the second episode. But yeah, the whole story kind of has me intrigued to where I want to see more of it, and that's how you do it. You don't explain everything in the first couple episodes. You got to hold back a little bit to kind of tease the audience along.
What is this world? What am I watching? Why do I, like I kind of care about this one guy. I get that, but like you and not to get into spoilers, there's really nothing to spoil, to be honest. But I thought the first episode was a little slow. No complaints. It was fine. It carried itself perfectly well. But and then the second episode, it felt a little bit better, more relaxed. Like it found its stride, or like it knew like the pace that it wanted to be, and it just hit it. But you're also kind of like peeling this onion back layer by layer, down to the as you get more into the world here. I love that world building. It's really really friggin' cool.
Right.
And you are kind of like left with thinking, like in the second episode, that there's this organization of this ninja line or whatever, yada yada, in Japan, and then it's talking about how it's handing that off to a bigger kind of like almost more evil master or something, or sinister kind of vibe too, because it kind of like, well, it kind of sounds like they're betraying their kind of origin, perhaps. Maybe it's being, or maybe the better way to put it is it's being corrupted, and put in a way that is unnatural. But aside from that, like I kind of got confused over the mask part or whatever, but like, and I'm not trying to whatever, but you just go with it. It just it flows. But like I said, that's why the first episode. But you know what? Not every first episode is going to be amazing but award winning. It's more about how it keeps it going throughout the rest of the season, and we'll find out. But I'm very happy thus far. I'm very curious to see where this goes, and like I haven't been excited about something like this in a very long time, and it's just refreshing. I just want to say that it's just really refreshing to find something that is of good quality and has that kind of hard edge Netflix type thing where they used to make, and they still do. Every once in a while, Netflix will make a pretty hard hitting, really cool show. I think Amazon Prime does too. That they all kind of have like, I think the joke is they're like dad. They're for dads or the dad audience. I can't think of there.
Yeah,
There's
that's
more
the Amazon Prime thing. It's like the dad streaming
yes
service.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of not really a pejorative, but it's kind of like that. But that's so true. This is John Wick. This is Arnold. This is Jean-Claude Van Damme. This is American Ninja. This is, I mean, you can roll them all up into one, and like as you get bigger, it's just building into a bigger world.
I also think the fact that they're kind of leaning in on some of the tropes that it acts as a shorthand so that they don't have to fill in all the details. You go, oh, you immediately kind of click in. Oh, okay, this is what you're doing, so that they can focus on other things. Whereas, like, say the first episode, you have kind of like a montage, 80s, 80s, 90s. You got to have a montage of the happy life that Joe Logan had with his wife and kid. they kind of quickly kind of go through it, and you get that sense of it's like, okay, he's a good guy. So that whenever they can flip the switch, they don't have to spend too much time on that. They can flip the switch on the second episode and show that he's also a badass. You got a hint of a little bit of that in the first episode, but the second episode it kind of cranks it up a gear. He gets on his Harley or his motorcycle, and and there's a scene where he's in a bar, and these corrupt cops kind of try to mess with him, and I got really strong Wolverine vibes,
True.
Logan, having a beer in the bar, and then it's like you immediately know, because he's got that persona, and that he's a bit of a badass. This is going to be his badass moment where he's gonna cut loose a little bit.
Right.
And there's a cool scene where he messes up the first guy, and then the next guy, he just lets the wind. He's such a badass. The wind knocks the guy.
Oh
out.
I remember. Yeah, he didn't even touch him. He just like it was weird seeing it, but then you see it pay off, and it was like, all right, that I'll allow it.
Yeah, I don't know if the physics work, but in anime, the physics doesn't always. Style sometimes takes over from physics.
I will say this, probably watching this probably influenced me probably at some level subconsciously. Like, me and the kiddos have watched The Good, the Bad, the Ugly. That was like a few years back, and they really wanted to continue watching the trilogy, the Man with No Name series.
Mm-hmm.
And we ended up watching a fistful of dollars on Saturday. My daughter wasn't interested, but my son was, and I gotta say, like, that Yojimbo kind of vibe, that's that kind of thing, it's all kind of around the same spirit, and it was very well received.
And there's I know that Hollywood and different people have been kind of playing with the action genre, kind of doing different things,
tempting things.
Tempting things, not always working. And this is sort of a get back to the roots, badass guy doing badass things, and that always works.
Well, and to the thing, most new things made aren't going to stick around for very long. And I think I heard, I was just about the amount of movies. Then I got to go check it out to verify. But like, I heard something along the lines of like, there half as many projects out this year as there were twice as many last year. So that there's like this trimming down. But at the same time, Hollywood did give us John Wick, and like, when it works and it lands, it doesn't matter what the genre or the media is, it connects, and there's something there's something compelling there to stick around with. And maybe it's also too because I have maybe fresh newbie eyes, I guess. Maybe I don't know, for all I know, this could be ended up like just being the anime version of the Jingly Keys, and then like, here comes Mike. But it didn't feel like that. It has substance, quality, and depth. You can tell the people care. The mask, the aesthetic is cool. Like, ninjas are cool. I mean,
everybody likes anime the most when they're first getting into it. That's not an indictment of the quality of this show. But
sure, it's probably a little bit of a honeymoon.
Everybody likes anime the most when they're first getting into it, because it is new and it is different. And I think that's something it very much brings to the table. But this show, there are lots of, I think the important thing is, you have a show like this, and is this type of show going to be the most popular anime of the season? Probably not. But the whole thing is, if you just want to watch the most popular anime, there's a whole service out there that gets the most popular anime every season. You can watch whatever are the trending shows that season, but then you also have a little island over here where you have things like Ninja Kamui for an audience that's looking for something different. And I think that that's what's great about anime right now. There are people who would outright say this isn't actually anime because of the way it was produced, but it is, and it appeals to an audience that it may not appeal to another. But that when you have a format where you can have a lot of different audiences, you've got a winner. Everyone doesn't have to be watching the same thing or enjoying the same thing.
Right.
Yeah, and I was just going to say, yeah, I'm I don't usually lean in with the current trends. I'm usually buck them. I'm more into the indie stuff. When everybody was into the big blockbuster movies back in the '90s and 2000s, I was wanted to watch the weird, creepy, independent stuff. The stuff that's kind of on the edge of things, and so this kind of caters to that. Like Jay said, it's not your average your big blockbuster anime, and I like that. I like the things with a little bit of edge, with a little bit of weirdness to them, with a little bit of something extra.
Yeah, I agree. It's just nice to have something. It's just nice to have something to look forward to. And I kind of go ahead.
I was going to ask Jay, since he knows a little bit about the history of this. It's most animes are based off of manga, but I think this is original, isn't it?
This is an original. So yes, in Japan right now, most anime is based off of manga, or it's based off what's called a light novel, which is kind of like a sort of YA style novel that are smaller and quicker to read. Those are the big sources for anime right now. But every season there will be something original where there will be a studio or some conglomeration of companies who can get together and put money out for a new idea. It's a lot harder and riskier because with manga you have a pre-existing track record. You can look at how the manga is done to tell how well the anime might do, but with something original, you don't necessarily have that. So it's a huge risk, but if you win big. So there have been some animation studios who are actually kind of generally low on the totem pole when it comes to the way that anime is produced and where the money goes in anime. There have been a couple of studios who they were able to finance the creation of a series, and it became popular, and they were able to reap the benefits. But it's a risk. Not everyone's going to pull it out. A lot of original anime doesn't go anywhere.
So, do you think with this? I know a lot of this is kind of a risky thing. Them doing this. Do you think for our audience that may be wanting to try this, maybe as their first anime? Is this? Do you think it will tell like a complete story, or at least have kind of a closure towards the end of it?
I think so. I think realistically, the premise, unless there's some hidden dimension we haven't been shown yet, I think this is the type of anime that shows its cards pretty early. Like it's telling you what it's about. I don't think the story's super complex from what I've seen thus far, and I think you could probably finish it in 12 episodes in a satisfying manner. That said, it's only the second episode. Maybe third episode will throw like a crazy loop. But I think that for for Warner, from the perspective of paying for this, and a Cartoon Network / Adult Swim for the perspective of being able to broadcast this, having one season that can just be kind of put in a rotation like Cowboy Bebop, that's not a bad thing.
Not at all. No, I'm hooked. And if anything, it's going to inspire me to go back and look at some of the things that it might inspire. And this was directed by Sunghoo Park.
Yeah, Sunghoo Park. So he is a South Korean animator, moved to Japan, started working there. He directed Jujutsu Kaisen, the first season of that, which is based off of a super popular manga. He also directed the anime version of The God of High School, and The God of High School is a Korean webtoon style comic. So he's got a couple of kind of hits under his belt, and he went to start his own studio. And this is kind of the debut anime of this new studio. It's called E&H, I believe.
Well, that's
E&H Production. Yes,
that's what I heard. But
right. I saw that he was. I guess the thing that influenced him as a child was seeing the Macross movie, which is Robotech.
Yes. Yeah, beautiful film that still stands up to this day. I watched that probably once every couple of years, and just am amazed at how great the animation is held up from something made in 1983 or 84, I think.
Yeah. Now, back in the day in the 80s and 90s, it was very hard to find anime, and you might hear about it and you kind of dream about watching it. Robotech was one of those things that was for me
Yeah.
sort of like the holy grail that I was looking for. In that they actually had there was a novelization of it where they put out novels of the anime, and I read those in high school, and I dreamed of actually seeing Robotech, and I never could get a hold of copies of it. And yeah, and to this day, I have not sat down and watched Robotech, and I almost think maybe I shouldn't at this point because I've built it up in my head, so much that maybe not. But yeah, I'll probably eventually get down and watch it. But yeah, that's sort of my weird love with anime. But yeah, and also there's like this. I like how it's kind of sort of like set a few days in the future. It's not like hundreds of years in the future. You
Right.
kind of see it as maybe a few years down the road. But yeah, those are the kind of sci-fi that I kind of dig, to where there's still roots of today within that world. When it's like too far in the future, I kind of lose myself, or you kind of don't have much grounding in it. You have to do a lot more of grounding the audience to make them feel like they're there with the characters. Whereas this, since it's so close to our future, our times, that you easily kind of access and understand the motivations of the various characters. And the world is far enough in the future, though, that it looks cool.
Yeah, this has like a very down home kind of feel to it. It does feel, but it also kind of has that gritty
So
kind. But it's still
is it
clean.
yeah
It's not like too gritty.
is it set in America?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
rural.
set in America.
Yeah,
So
rural
the
America.
main
Right.
character has fled from Japan to the United States.
Mm-hmm.
He's got this technology that is camouflaging his appearance. He's using a different name, so he and his family are taking every precaution they can to avoid detection by the ninja clan.
Yeah, I like the little details, like in the montages when they're leaving the store, he's like wiping the handle of the the store so that their fingerprints aren't on it.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. The character designs have Takashi Okazaki,
Yeah. Yeah.
who also did Afro Samurai, which I do remember. I didn't watch it. I wasn't. I'm not going to claim a original True Blue fan of Afro Samurai. I kind of followed it like with the reruns like years later, but I have seen an episode or three of it, and I enjoyed what I saw. Like I'm not going to claim expert on it, but like that has a very unique style too. That is unto itself, and I like that. I like that this isn't. You can kind of see things traded back and forth, maybe, but all in all, it's still its own thing, and the fighting sequences are. I think their signature alone, as it goes, is this going to be like super big, huge, popular? Probably not, but it's a hidden gem. I'd say. I mean, I don't know how popular it is, but
This has some of the same gratuitousness that Afro Samurai had. Just like there's some things that it does. It
Right.
didn't really have to do that to get the point across, but seeing it done is just kind of like, whoa, wow, they went crazy here.
Right.
I think it's got that in common. And you're saying it may not be the most popular thing. It doesn't have to be. I think for Warner, they just want some people talking about it and saying good things about it. They want it as something that they can use as a factor to attract people to their streaming service. Like it seems like now having anime is sort of a requirement to be like a top tier streaming service. You have something to offer your audience in that category. So this is something they own outright because they paid to have it made, so they don't have to worry about renegotiating rights later or anything like this. This is
Right.
theirs.
You know, this is the new this is the new farm system for, or what, and we're seeing it and actually Netflix was very early to the market for this kind of thing. Although not talking about cable or Adult Swim, they kudos to them way back in the day before there was even a streaming service ever thought of in anybody's head. But they're doing it right, because if they do this correctly, maybe it's not this one, maybe it's the next 10 or whatever,
Well,
but one of those they're going to take them, and damn good and well, Hollywood and big corporations, they're going to turn it into a live action something. And if they do, great. But but I could see them doing something like this, like a farm system, like to test if this is really good and it's popular and it has the makings of it could blow up bigger, maybe in a different kind of thing. I don't know, but that's a lot of speculation, by the way.
Yeah, and I with Warner Brothers, they have a lot of various animation departments and companies that they've kind of acquired over the years, and so it's kind of telling, like Jay was saying, that it's within the umbrella of Toonami and the Adult Swim, because Adult Swim has that sense of cool, and it's that kind of underground sort of, you watch it because it's going to be cool. So they infused the show with that coolness and that history of hey, you gotta watch this on Adult Swim because it's cool, and it's got that because they could have just threw it out on HBO Max or Max and say, hey, this is our Max exclusive.
Right.
No, it's getting funneled through Adult Swim, and that may be how it got made, and this is before all the focus on streaming. But I think it's cool. It makes sense that it's within the umbrella of Adult Swim and Toonami.
Yeah, I just wanted. I was going to add to real quick, and just to saying it, not that maybe this will blow up, maybe it won't, but whether it's 10 people who see this or 1,000, whatever it is, it would be really cool if the feedback that they get is, one, people like this, and two, please make more, within reason. Like, don't make this 10 seasons. This is maybe 2, really pushing it for maybe 3 seasons. This is not like one of those kind of type deals. It would be my kind of thought and feeling about it. I don't want to see 10, but whatever. That's just my thing. But I did want to say this before I get too long-winded, which is, please keep doing this, Max, and Adult Swim, whatever, corporate overlords, like doing it so that I can see it on the streaming service that I pay for, instead of having to wait a whole year or to go buy it or whatever, like they do with Rick and Morty, which I don't like. And I understand they're kind of hamstrung because of maybe different agreements or whatever, but do more of this. This is acceptable. I can wait a day. I'm totally fine with that.
Don't be Mr. Poopy Pants.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the Western media companies have already seen how much money they've made with what they've kind of put into anime now. So I think that you're just going to see more. Lots of people have different opinions about that, but I don't think you're going to see less money coming from Hollywood, so to speak, into anime. You're going to see more. You're going to see more money coming from around the world into Japan to create anime for various purposes. This is something that was designed kind of for the American market, but you're going to see stuff designed for the Indian market. You're going to see stuff designed for other markets come along. You're going to see lots of stuff that's just like, hey, this is for the entire world. That's just where we are now. This is now a bona fide kind of soft power economic export for Japan. So
yeah, well, it's taken over, and we're only seeing, I think, what will become more and more and more a standard thing. I've already heard through the grapevine, this is like a few years back, it's not just anime and manga that's taken over. It's also South Korea has a lot of popular things. Huge, yeah, absolutely. And they're
and the creators from, Jay said, from South Korea, right?
That's true. Yeah. South Korea, it's just getting started. Like I know for a few years now, like I know other Facebook moms, so to speak, the fellow parents out there that watch. They show up for the South Korean dramas like it's Guiding Light. And so you're having this whole kind of new wave of like us older folks kind of getting into these new things, and it's very exciting to see happen, because God knows, I mean, I kind of don't want to go see the next generic thing, and I think I'm going to consider this to be a jewel, no matter what happens. Like maybe the rest of the series sucks, I don't know, but like I'm going to assume that it won't, and that this will kind of be a highlight of 2024. And it's nice to see this early on in the year, as well. So.
Yeah, and one of the things that always pissed me off back in the day was how there would be like this cool movie or a cool TV series overseas, whether it be Japan,
Right.
Germany, Italy, a cool movie, and then America wouldn't show that in the theaters. They would make their own American version of it, and
which sucked.
and sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. But why can't I have the original? You have to kind of track it down on some bootleg VHS or DVD to see it, which I always did because I wanted to see the original. But it's great that we live in a time where we kind of badmouth streaming services now, because the whole thing of the cool thing you want to watch isn't always on there, or it was on there and they took it off because they don't have the rights to it anymore, blah blah blah. But the cool thing about streaming is you have access to so much more, and so much more original content that the American companies are seeing the value in it, so that they don't make their bland Americanized versions of it. They're letting you see the original creations. And for a person that is always kind of looking for that unique thing, that kind of interesting thing, I don't want to see the same thing over and over. So it's cool to see all these new things, or new ideas from different cultures and different stories. It just gotta really makes me happy being able to. So we're in a good time, I think.
Yeah,
so that if you don't like what America's putting out right now, you could sit there and complain, and there's some value to complaining, but you could also turn on a streaming service and find something cool that maybe someone else is offering that is more to your taste.
Yeah, and then that's why I like doing this type show that we do. It's just lighthearted. We try to find good things to talk about, and things to recommend, even better. And maybe you don't like it, or maybe you're an anime friggin' nut and you've seen every other kind of permutation of every other kind of thing that could be done in that genre. Either way, I think you'll be interested in seeing something like this.
And don't worry, there's no tentacles in this. So we're saying it's extreme, but not that direction.
No. Everything is I guess I want to say tastefully done, but in a way that is maybe tastefully. That's probably a bad way to put it, but it's done with like where in this world it makes sense with what you're given. There's nothing super gratuitous over the top. I mean, if you're a little baby, if you can make it through a Quentin Tarantino movie, I think you'll be fine with it. This isn't even anywhere near that, really. It's brutal, but it's not like.
This is less violent than Invincible.
Yeah.
I think the violence in this is a little bit more stylized.
Right, exactly.
It's a little bit more cool.
Panache with it.
Also, the majority of the people being killed their faces are completely covered, so we don't actually really know that they're humans. My guess is that was definitely something dictated by Warner Brothers to the studio for American standard and practice type things, corporate network rules.
Yeah, it's sort of like how their action figures never have guns and stuff like that.
Yeah,
or X-Men. I didn't know this because I was a kid when I was watching it, but with X-Men back in the 90s, the new one that's coming out in a next month, X-Men 97 or whatever it was. But I didn't know this, but apparently Wolverine never uses claws on another human. It was always on the robots or something like that, which I didn't know. But it totally makes
Sounds
sense
about
for
right.
Yep.
for that. But of course,
Yeah.
it's a different new era that we live in as it goes, and it is Adult Swim, so they are edgy when they want to be, and they won't back down for the most part.
And I won't back down.
Adult
Oh,
Swim
yeah.
has been the cornerstone of some friggin' kooky ass people doing some kind of comedy or some kind of edgy whatever. And there's good and bad that come from that too. Like not everything on Adult Swim is amazing, but this is cool. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. It's I really enjoyed it. Yeah, the whole there's like a really cool fight scene at the end of the second episode where you start to see some of the little bit of the powers that they may have. It's cool that it's like I won't spoil it, but they go, oh, they could do that, and so yeah, they're kind of layering out things. The only thing I'll knock it for, since we're having a love fest for the show,
Sure.
my only knock on it is that most animes have that lovable, quirky character. The doctor in the second episode is sort of like that, but they don't have like a standout personality yet that really kind of engages the main protagonist. And you kind of have most movies, like you have that stoic character like Mad Max. You always have to have that expressionistic sidekick or counterpoint to kind of balance out the flow of the show or the movie. They don't quite have that yet, so I'm kind of interested to see if they do develop that.
I think that could be this. I was looking at the storytelling of this and the way things are presented, and I'm like, oh, I'd see something like, oh, that's a very Japanese thing. You do that in lots of anime. There'd be other things I'm like, no, but that's different. This is taking a very kind of hybrid. You can tell that Japanese people were involved in the creation of this, but you can also kind of see some things where, if you look on the Wikipedia article, it says that there was executive assistance from Adult Swim. You can kind of see where there might have been some
Tip in
network notes, so to speak, or some suggestions.
hopefully good ones.
The second episode, remember the scene at with the fight with the food delivery? Remember that felt very much like something you'd see in an American product. That didn't seem that was very kind of almost quippy Marvel MCU type scenario, which I don't feel like you would see in a Japanese media product so much. So it was just very interesting watching the sort of cultural melange that's taking place with the production of this show.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they balance the two out, and if one wins out over the other. But yeah, it's it'll be kind of interesting to see how it all plays out, and if we're still singing its praises by the end of it, which I throw my hat in the ring as a when the final episode airs, us doing like a wrap up.
Yeah, that sounds real good.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no, I definitely want to kind of come back together and kind of discuss this, and I'm sure we'll have our little conversation. This is going to go on for a little bit, which is nice. The other thing I was going to say was I'm here for this. I'm down for this for a while. I'm gonna be watching. I like the fact that I get the next day. And matter of fact, the one series that I was following on, I kind of fell off a little bit. And I need to go catch up, which can happen. And that's it. Just not anything. Not its fault. Just kind of like I'm busy and I have other things to do than watch. But the True Detective season 4 is also out. I think it's going to wrap in the next couple weeks. I think.
Yeah, I heard it's like 6 episodes. Yeah, I've heard good and bad things. Like it was that it wasn't originally going to be a True Detective story, that they decided it was going to be a third or fourth season.
Yeah,
and they kind of roped in things.
Yeah, unfortunately, I hung out a little bit too long on a certain social media site. Didn't matter which one, and I kind of watched or I kind of accidentally clicked on things talking about the last couple episodes that I hadn't seen, and it was like I kind of wish I wouldn't. But it's not going to ruin it anyway. But it would just probably just be nice to just like, well, I'll just like wait for it to wrap up, and then like I can just binge when I want to, which is fine. But
Yeah,
we'll
yeah, and
see. I don't know.
yeah,
We'll see.
yeah, and I'm notorious for starting animes. I had a buddy I used to work with that we would buy DVDs of different anime series, and we would trade them, let each other watch them. And I was notorious for getting the first maybe one or two installments of it and then stopping. And then he's like, "Man, I want to see how it turns out." And yeah, but yeah, a lot of anime I would get bored with because it's sort of maybe not to my taste, or yeah, I got it after so many episodes. I understood what was going on, and I really didn't need it anymore. It's like, okay, I understand where this is going, and maybe I don't have to go down that road. Yeah, and I always want to, if I could kind of, I want to be surprised with my stories, and this one I think is intriguing enough to hang in there.
Yeah, I'm sticking around. And if with 12 episodes, there's going to be filler maybe or whatever, but that's okay. I would rather have a little bit more runway to let the thing take off, than not. Of course.
Well, you gotta keep in mind that they're 3-minute episode,
Right.
So it's it's so it's not like a they're packing a lot of stuff in 23 minutes.
They are. So far, aside from a little bit of slowness starting out, like it's working for me. So like I think does anybody else have any other things that they wanted to bring up? I'm just going back through my notes, but
I think I'll probably wait until the season's over and then just binge the episodes then. I think I'm gonna have a problem remembering to come check in on this every week, but I do want to kind of make a note to myself when the season would be over and then check out all the episodes then, like just do it in one hit.
Yeah,
this would be a great thing to watch on like a Saturday evening, like late night marathon or something, like back in the old TNT days. You remember they do like the monster movie marathon, but a marathon of this like on a Saturday night would be great.
Yeah, I'm alternately doing it. I got another setup, and I'll propose that to you, the audience. You could binge watch it like Jay's going to do, or do it like me. I don't watch it on Saturday because it's on Adult Swim and you got commercials. I'm going to watch it the next day on Max because I got the no commercials. I pair it with Curb Your Enthusiasm. I watched a new episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm and the Ninja because I don't know, somehow it works.
Hey, yeah, I could easily see like waiting a few weeks or 2 weeks or so, and then that way I can maybe roll it into and watch it on a Saturday morning.
Right.
Why not? And maybe I can complete the nostalgia circle and just do the whole damn thing and just eat my sugar cereal and
that's the beauty of streaming. You get.
I've gotten up and watched anime and eaten cold pizza many a Saturday morning.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Not so much anime, but yeah, absolutely getting up and watching something, whatever, something that you're sort of looking forward to. Maybe that's not maybe top tier, but it's still you're still into it, that kind of thing. But we're rolling up here in about an hour, right at
wow, time flies.
Yeah, no, it does. Jay, I can't thank you again. Thank you enough. I should say this is your second time here on the show, and we're actually leading in with the thing we're gonna follow back up on. I really hope, above all things, like I am kind of concerned that I don't see, and not that my YouTube stream feed, because it's all different, isn't the end all be all of the world, but it would be great if a little bit more. It would just be nice and more comforting if more folks kind of knew about this. But Who knows?
It could also be something that people might not really start picking up until
Right.
a few episodes in. Like,
It-
there's some shows where it might take half a season before anyone even notices it's around. Some shows don't even really get their due until after they're over. So
Right.
it can, and that's the thing for Warner. If this becomes popular in a year, they're still going to feel like their investment was worth it.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, like Twin Peaks. I'm a huge Twin Peaks fan. It didn't become popular until 25 years later. So,
Right.
so obviously, hopefully this won't take as long. But yeah, like you said, I think it'll be word of mouth. People saying, "Hey, this is a cool thing," and then we're doing our part as word of mouth by doing this show. So
Yeah, just satisfying. It's
Yep.
good. If you like John Wick, you like this.
Yep.
If you like any of that kind of thing,
Yep.
it doesn't take.
And
You don't got to do homework to go to figure out what the hell's going on.
Right. And if you out in the audience enjoyed the show, enjoyed our show, and the anime, in the comments below, suggest anime that that you like as well, that we should check out. So yeah, and maybe we'll watch that in the future.
Absolutely, yeah. And shame on me for not getting the thing up here in time.
Hey! Don't be putting your thing up. Oh, that thing. That's not the show here.
Yeah, the other thing. Yeah.
Hey,
yeah.
we're getting professional here. Hey,
Yeah,
I like it.
If I can hit my marks here on the cue. Of course, this is all stream of conscious.
Yep. And
Collaboration.
don't forget to ring that ding-a-ling bell. So
Yeah, absolutely. Likes,
For,
comments,
notifications.
subscribe.
Comment.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, and I think you're gonna be in for a solid surprise with this. Run, don't walk. I would say you don't have to full on sprint. Maybe jog. But
just crawl to your remote and turn it on. You don't have to be
but with
upright
this
to
whole
do that.
the kind of the praise I would sing would be like this kind of network cable in interland, the no man's land that we're in kind of thing with the streaming and cable slowly dying or whatever. It would be great. Keep this thing going with at least do the next series or the next one. Make them all like,
Well, and
like the next day you should be able to see it. Like don't make people wait a whole, don't do that.
Well, I think they're doing the right thing in that it's being spotlighted in Toonami and being spotlighted on Adult Swim, because the thing with Netflix, they got a lot of cool stuff, but they throw it out there in a glut and let it sink or swim by its own, and a lot of time it just sinks, and they've canceled the series before anyone's found it yet.
Mhm.
So yeah, we're doing our part to promote it, whereas I think Warner Brothers is doing a somewhat decent job of trying to spotlight it. I noticed if in their when you go into Max, they have their top 10 list,
Mhm.
and it's in the top 10 list. So I don't know if that's reflecting in views or if that's just what they're kind of pushing. But at least they're trying to push it and kind of spotlight it.
Very cool. Very cool. Yep. With that, I think I've been Mike.
Now I'm Tom.
I'm Jay.